Comets look like stray campfires, and the skytails streaming, heads glowing, drifting across the dark like signals from far-off cousins. Here's the hook tucked right inside the title. What if those bright wanderers bring us gifts and curses in the same breath? Shades of life, and sometimes doom. My grandfather, who taught me how to read the river by its smell, called comets sky salmon. He said they run on cycles we barely remember, leaving eggs wherever they pass. Some hatch blessings, he told me, his hands rough from carving cedar. Some hatch trouble. The old stories from our people say the world has been made and unmade many times, and the makers always leave a sign in the sky when the change begins. Comets were those signs, long white braids, sliding across the night, telling the careful ones to pay attention. Science gives the story new words. Panspermia, the idea that life's ingredients ride through space on rock and ice. We've found amino acids in meteorites, complex organics in comet tails. Picture a dirty snowball the size of a mountain, loaded with carbon, nitrogen, water, a traveling pantry. It brushes past a young Earth and dusts the oceans with chemical seeds. The soup thickens. The spark takes. Somewhere in those waves, life coughs for the first time and decides to stay. But the same messenger can carry a club. Ask the mammoths. Ask the cities that sleep on the bottoms of drowned coasts. An impact doesn't knock politely. It empties the pantry, turns forests into kindling, teaches the sky to burn. Our elders told of years when the sun looked wrong and ash fell like black snow. Stories like that don't come from nowhere. They're memory wearing a mask so it can cross long winters without freezing. For the documentary part of this tale, follow me to the high desert, where the air is thin and the stars come close. We set up cameras near petroglyphs, cut into basalt. Spiral marks, falling stars. Hands open to the sky messages chipped by people who've watched 1,000 nights and knew the patterns. When a real comet came, bright as grief, Tay marked it, not to worship but to remember. This is what we saw, the stone says. This is how the world changed after. Here's where myth and lab notes shake hands. A comet brings dust. Dust changes clouds. Clouds change rain. Farm cycles hiccup. Animals migrate early. People look up uneasy and tell the story again, so their children want tea. Forget the temps in the air and the way the shadows go strange. Meanwhile, deep in the ocean, tiny creatures bloom on the iron the comet sprinkled from its tail. The bloom feeds fish. The fish feed us, blessing and trouble, braided like a rope. But doom isn't always the slam of a rock. Sometimes it's a whisper, a long winter, a harvest that fails just enough times to move whole villages. Our oral maps still carry the routes the dry canyon you take when the wet one floods. The hill that stays above water when the river grows teeth. The stars above those maps aren't decorations. They're pins on a living chart. A comet sliding through that chart says, move. Not everyone moves. Pride is heavy. Cities grow roots they can't pull up. We stack glass by the sea and call it invincible. Then a tide remembers the moon, and a dog visitor leaves a thumbprint on the climate. When the water comes in, it does not negotiate. Our ancestors tried to tell us, painting boats on cave walls where no river runs today. There's a gentler future nested in this, too. If comets deliver seeds, we can welcome them with clean hands. We can stop salting the soil with our own poisons, and the gifts might take root faster. Imagine catching comet dust on high mountain nets, bringing it to labs where children mix it with algae and learn that starlight can be planted. Imagine treaties that protect the black, quiet places where skywatchers listen not for omens, but for patterns. At the end of the film, we return to the cedar house. The camera noses in on my grandfather's carving. Salmon leaping, a comet arcing above them like a twin. Same story, he says, tapping the wood. Run upstream, fall back, feed the forest when you die. The river knows. The sky knows. We should learn. Outside, a pale smear rises over the spruce, the real thing, visiting. For a breath, everyone forgets their arguments and just looks. It's old light wearing a new face. It might be a pantry. It might be a hammer. Probably. But if the world is a house built by many hands over many winters, comets are the relatives who show up every few generations to bring food and knock down a wall. Whether we call that blessing or doom depends on how we greet them prepared. Humble, listening or not, when the tale finally fades, the cameras pack, but the stories don't. We add one more line to the petroglyphs, one more verse to the winter chant. We remind the young ones where the high ground is, where the good water runs when the old creek turns sour, and which patch of sky to watch when the salmon of the heavens turn for home.